So the first step in our UX redesign journey is to create what's called a persona. And a persona is just a fancy word for a character, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a second. But usually what happens with, design is that we're iterating, we're recreating something. You'll often, especially for web design, you'll be contacted by an existing company or an existing organization that wants you to remake their website. So they already have kind of an audience or a goal in mind, right? If you remember back to the first week, we talked about goal identification, and that's an essential part of this. So we have some sort of goal in mind. So let's just use Wink as an example. Wink is, like I said before, a wine delivery service, and their goal is to get you subscribed to their wine delivery service. Okay, that's their goal. That's their call to action. Let's hop over here. So if we were redesigning Wink's website, all right, so Wink, and their goal is to get new subscribers, right? So what we're going to do is use that as kind of our overarching theme here. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a persona that we can use to look at their existing website and say what a problem or what's something that could be fixed with their existing website. So a persona, like I said, is just kind of a fancy word for a character. Okay, so just a character. And whenever we use this term persona, we're not talking about one specific person, but rather an idea of a person. So again, this isn't a stereotype. I'm not saying, oh, I'm targeting women ages 40 through 50 or something like that. This is really like a kind of goal-oriented methodology, all right? So keep that in mind. We're not stereotyping people. We're not creating a stereotype. We're creating a more complex three-dimensional persona in this case. So there's a few things that you want to think about with your persona, and those break down into their attributes. So their attributes might be something like, that could actually be age, for example. But we might put age range, interests. So are they interested in wine, or is this somebody who's not interested in wine, right? For in the case of Wink. Remember, that's the example we're going to be using throughout this little assignment. Their attributes might also include their currently existing subscriptions. So if we're trying to get someone to resubscribe, what are they currently subscribed to? Or, for instance, if we're making a new social media platform, what are they currently using? So I'm just going to call this their current products. Okay, so we're really thinking about the customer's attributes. The second kind of category we have here is their values. Right, so what do they value? The classic example is a car sales website, right? A car sales website, if we're selling cars, we're not necessarily trying to sell to every single person. And people value different things whenever they're looking at a car. Some people want every piece of technical information regarding the engine and the drivetrain and all these other things. And other people care about the sort of practicality or the more commuter aspects of their vehicle, such as miles per gallon, the fuel efficiency, emissions, things like that. So we have to determine what this persona's values are. So what do they find important? Right? They're coming to your website with a piece of information in mind. All right? So they have a goal and a piece of information that they want to find out. That piece of information might be, well, what is Wink? What is the service? What kind of wines do I like? How can I get cheap wines, etc. But we're thinking about what's important to them. So what's important to them? What's their taste? What's their value? What do they value most in getting out of your product and out of your website? The next one we have is their goal. All right? And this is really heavily linked to values above. So the goal in this case is, are they visiting your what is the goal that they are visiting your website with? That's not our goal, okay? I'm just going to write that out. Not our goal, but rather their goal. So this means, why are they coming to our website? What's the purpose of coming to our website? Do they want to find information? Are they trying to find a product? Do they want to purchase something? They go to Amazon, for example, to purchase a product, right? You're usually not going to Amazon to read an article or something like that. So in this case, they might be coming to Wink basically because they Google searched wine. All right, so they Google searched the word wine and Wink was the first result, and so they clicked on it because they're trying to buy wines online. Our goal is to get them subscribed to our service, okay? And lastly, their concerns. So this is kind of the inversion of their values in a way. What are they worried about? Right? Cost. This is a big one. What else are they worried about regarding our product? It could be safety. There's definitely people that are much more concerned about certain aspects of a product than others. And the same thing goes for website usability. Some people are really concerned with time. This is probably the biggest one. Meaning they want to come to your website and leave it as soon as they can. And it's our job to either get them to stay as long as we want them to, or to get them to fulfill that call to action, fulfill that goal that we have for them. But time is usually the big factor that you're playing with here. So we would sort of sketch out this person as we have. I might even give them a name. So I might call this person Annie. And I would actually write all these things out. Okay, I would kind of make a little profile for them. I might even include like an image of this person just to help me imagine them. And then the next step is to actually like pull them into our site and take notes as if we're that person. So we might go to Wink and imagine, okay, we're this person. We've just discovered the site because we Google searched it. What's the first thing I click? Well, I read this. Okay, get started. And it's asking me, how do I like my coffee? All right, this is a little weird. It's intriguing, and I'm interested in this, but I don't really know why it's asking me that. Okay, it's asking me these other things. I'm kind of frustrated with this because all I wanted to do was buy wine. I'm going to go back a few steps. Well, here's wines, and I'll click that. Okay, cool. So they have these wines, and I can add them to my box. Oh, wine tasting 101 kit. Well, I don't know much about wine. This might be something kind of interesting. Okay, it wants me to register. And so I'm embodying this persona of a person. So one thing that we just discovered about Wink is that this get started, that we might want to have a little primer first. We might want to have one page of information telling us a little more, because if I don't know what this is, curated to your taste and delivered to your doorstep. And I see that there's a box of wine, and I get, okay, it's a box of wine, but why are they asking me about my coffee taste? And there's a really good reason for that. And this service has been around for a while, so they're obviously quite successful. But we might want to have, if we were to redesign this, a little primer first. Whenever they click this Get Started, it says, Wink is a service that delivers wines to your door. We're going to have this brief questionnaire. I would almost give them two options. I'd say something like, you can fill out this brief questionnaire to get your tastes figured out, or you can go straight to the wines, right? I'd give them two options. So there's a couple other things to ask whenever we're doing this whole persona exercise. Definitely thinking about individualized design. We're trying to not necessarily appeal to everybody. Like I said before, we're trying to essentially appeal to one person, one persona, and our website will actually be more successful that way. We'll attract the customers that we want. Broad attraction doesn't necessarily work. This is a big principle of UX and marketing research that you'll discover in your marketing classes, where really, broad design works for some things, but 99% of the time you want to find your niche customer and exploit that and figure that out. The other thing is, with all of this persona, a big question you should ask is, how did they actually get to your site? In the case of Annie, the little character I created, I supposed that they Google searched the word wine and Wink was the first thing that showed up. But maybe they're referred to this through Facebook, or it's shared to them in a different way. So maybe they know, a different approach of how they're getting here. That's another big question to ask. So this persona exercise is a great thing you can do with an existing website, or whenever you're just starting out and you have a wireframe, you might think about that content. and how you're going to lay that out for them to really achieve their goal and achieve your goal.